Anybody hear me out there? If there's anybody watching, let me know if you can actually hear what the heck I'm saying, because I have no idea if you guys can hear me or not. Well, while this is doing its thing, I'm going to put the truck up in the air. Let me see. I've never done this before, guys, so give me a second here. I'm trying to see the chat. Where is the chat? Live chat. Here we go. Close. Perfect. Lakeland, Florida. Very cool. You guys probably don't need much of this down there. I wanted to do something a little bit different this year because you guys have seen, like, the bottom of this truck has been perfectly fine for what, like 5 years now. So this is the first live I've ever done. I don't really know what the heck I'm doing, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit, but yeah. Flint, Michigan. Yeah, you guys got it bad up there. So yeah, at this point, like, I'm gonna take you guys around and I'll show you the bottom of this thing, but as you would imagine, nothing really here has changed all that much. Yeah, so let me get the tripod set up here, get you guys set up. And I haven't been underneath the truck since the spring. Like, I did an oil change in the spring, and it hasn't been on the lift since, so I don't know. The whole reason I'm doing this is they're predicting, like, I think they said we're supposed to get like 5 inches of snow tomorrow, which this early in the year, it's not gonna stick. The ground's simply too warm, but I figured if there's a possibility of snow, I might as well get underneath here and look and see what it looks like. And yeah, pretty much as expected. So let me flip you guys around. There we go. So this spot's usually pretty bad because this is where the evaporator drains, but yeah, I haven't touched this at all this year. So people are, constantly getting after me like, hey, you need to keep doing these updates and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, like, why am I spraying more on top of this? So yeah, really nothing new. Are Woolwax aerosol cans still available? Can't find your links to them on Amazon. I'll have to look. Not sure. At any rate, that's a great question for Woolwax. I'm not affiliated with them, so I'm sure they have a customer service number that you could call or something like that. So yeah, that would probably be your best bet, would just be go to them and ask, because frankly, I got no idea if they're still selling that stuff on Amazon or not. I know the gallons and stuff are still there, but as far as the smaller aerosol cans and stuff like that, I don't know. Oh, appreciate it, George. That's what's on this truck. That's what's been on this truck for like 3 years, and you guys see it. Like, there's still a ton of it on here, so it is what it is. Yeah, they all 3 of them work, but I mean, the one that I don't have to constantly, respray every single year is probably the one I'm going to want to use, and that's going to be Surface Shield or Woolwax. So take it for what it is. Why does that not For whatever reason, the chat on my screen keeps disappearing. Just got my truck Z-bar and climbed underneath to check coverage. Third recoat, horrible. So yeah, I've had a couple people go to Z-Bart locally, and I probably shouldn't say this because I'm sure I'll get a nasty email from Z-Bart after saying this, but the quality of the work that I saw from the people around here that spray that hard rubberized coating is not great. I have some people come to me and, I'll pull the panels off the bottom of it and spray underneath it and put the panels back on and all that stuff. And those people won't do that. It's crazy. And then they turn around and they'll whack those people for $500-$600, and then they give them like, oh, it's got a warranty on it. It's like, well, great. Wipe your butt with that piece of paper. That warranty is about worthless when the car's all rotted out. They're not going to replace the frame. It's just ridiculous. You recoated it yourself. What did you use? So did you use, did you put lanolin over top of it, or what did you do? Let me know. Sister had a hard wax coating. I saw that. Vehicle rusted out from underneath the wax. Yeah, I've seen that too. And that's why I don't play around with, I don't really want to name names here, but some of the companies that make lanolin products are dabbling in these hard coatings, and I won't touch them because that's exactly why. If you spray that wax or any sort of like permanent coating over top of any type of rust without the proper prep, it will not hold up. I had a guy come to me last year that did, I believe it was a Woolwax product, is what he said. I don't know if this is true or not. It's just what he told me. But the dude he took it to, like, they sprayed it, this hard coating, they sprayed it over like the transfer case and the transmission, and it was like all over the place. And I've got pictures on my phone where it's like bubbling up on the transfer case because the transfer case has gotten hot and it just starts to mess with that coating. It's nuts. Fluid film from Menard's still available. Yeah, that'll work. You just got to watch. You may have to keep on top of spraying what's there, because if the fluid film is softening that layer underneath, then it may fall off and you may not have any protection. So as long as you're keeping on top of spraying it, generally it's fine. Not that big of a deal. That was weird. Sprayed Tacoma yesterday, surface shield. Supposed to get some snow here in Geauga County. Yep. I saw up your way that they were supposed to get like 12 inches or something crazy. There's no way that you're going to get a foot of snow in like the first week in November. The ground is simply too warm here. It never sticks. It seems like they do this every year, where they'll cause a bunch of panic and say it's going to be really, really bad and blah, blah, blah. And, we're going to get 2 feet of snow and this, that, and the other. And then the ground's still so warm that it pretty much melts as soon as it hits the pavement, but they still, salt the crap out of the road. So, yeah. I think so. What I'll do is I'm just going to touch it up real quick while you guys are doing your thing in the chat. I don't know why the chat keeps disappearing. Lake Ontario, water being warm. Yeah, exactly. So I am on it would be the far northwest corner of Akron. So it's just south of a place called Richfield in that area. What to look out for with rubbery undercoating. You just have to make sure that the fluid film isn't degrading the existing coating that's on the vehicle. And if it is, get the coating off the vehicle or just keep maintaining it, and it'll eventually, it'll soften it up or probably fall off or something. As long as you stay on top of it, it'll be fine. So there you go. There's my recoat. That's pretty much all I'm going to do this year because doesn't need it. I'll take you guys around one more time for those of you that are just getting here. And let's see. Let me flip this thing around. All right, grab a flashlight somewhere. Here we go. Got some brake testing coming, guys. Yeah, so I just hit the transmission cross member a little bit right here where the evaporator drained. And then front of the rear axle. And that's really about it. This truck's due for brakes soon, so I'm gonna have to put some brakes on it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to record that or not. I've had so much friggin' brake content at this point that I don't know that I want to record another brake job, but yeah, so that's what it looks like. Same as it was last year, same as it was the year before that. Really nothing to really update you guys on much at all. I figured I'd do it a little bit different this year and try to do a live stream because I've never done a live stream before. Don't know what it entails, and half of the challenge for me was just trying to figure out, how to get my phone set up and, telling YouTube the right information and all that stuff. But yeah, as far as what it looks like, should come as no surprise to you that, religiously follow the channel. Looks the same as it did for the past 3 or 4 years at this point. Set you guys down here. Couple more questions. Chat. Sprayed Subaru with black fluid film because this channel looks good. Excellent. Yeah, you'll have good luck with it. You just have to stay on top of it a little bit more than some of the other stuff out there. Doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just means you got to do it a little bit more often. That's all. How's my dad's truck holding up? So I sprayed his probably a month ago when it was still warm. And the only thing that I sprayed was right behind it would be right behind the passenger side front wheel, because that's where the evaporator drains, I believe. And it was just getting a lot of road spray in that area. And yeah, one quick little touch up and I was like, there you go. And he's like, my dad looked at me, he's like, so that's all you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't need it. So why waste the product and why waste the time? So at a certain point, like I've told you guys over and over, it just doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. A 1/4 inch thick layer of this goop on there, if a 1/16 of an inch will provide the same amount of protection, why spend the extra money on product? After all the drama, am I still using Surface Shield? Yeah, I am. I still really like the product. I'm not really a big fan of how I was treated by Blaster, but yeah, that's a whole nother story, and I don't know that I want to get into all of that right now. I can give you a short version if you want a short version of what went on there. Essentially, what they did was they went outside the company to hire somebody from the outside with the exact same title as myself. I was a product manager at Blaster. So they went to an external hire with the exact same job posting, or the exact same job, and they were going to pay this person off the street $13,000 more than what they were paying me to do the same job that I had been doing since I had started there. So if I quit my job, applied for this new position, got hired doing the exact same thing I was already doing, I would have gotten a $13,000 raise. So that's where a lot of the, I wouldn't call it animosity, but that's where all the drama really started, was that, and then it sort of escalated from there. It got to the point I knew about the external posting last fall when I shot the how to spray your car video. So if you actually go back and watch the video, I say, when I talk about Surface Shield, I literally say, I may not work at this company in the future, because I knew at that point when I shot that video that I was probably gonna have to make my exit. It's just unfortunate the way it was handled, in my opinion, but it wasn't my decision. So the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was they wanted to use me to create content for them. So they had a new product that had come out, which I'm not going to show you guys because I don't want to promote it, because up until this point, they haven't promoted it at all. So why should I? Anyway, so this product is a little bit more involved than just like spraying PB on something. So they wanted a how-to video to go along with how to use this product. Well, naturally, they came to me and said, hey, will you shoot this video? And I said, bearing in mind that I knew that I was being underpaid, and I basically looked at my boss and I said, no, I'm not doing that. And my boss looked at me and asked me point blank, well, let's call a spade a spade. Who are you committed to here? And I said, well, I guess I quit. And that was the end of it. So that was the Blaster drama. It is what it is. But yeah, I've got plenty of other stuff going on that not really that big of a deal. The primary reasons that I was there was health insurance and benefits, which I can get that through my wife. It's not that big of a deal. So it is what it is. Following you for years, I started to use Surface Shield for videos. Almost switched back to Woolwax from what they did. Woolwax hasn't been that kind to me either. If you actually go on Woolwax's Facebook page, there's some drama there too. That they went on their Facebook page and just typed out a novel one day about me. They didn't mention me specifically, but they said, oh, there's this influencer on YouTube that is putting graphite powder into undercoating products at Diet Black, and they basically just went off the handle saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, and this, that, and the other, and I'm full of crap, and it's whatever. It is what it is. You know, when you do stuff like this and put yourself out there on YouTube, you're gonna have stuff like that. The unfortunate part for me is I see the amount of affiliate sales that I've brought into that company through Amazon, and it's deep into the six figures. And they went on their Facebook page and they said, and I quote, his bogus instructions to his followers are starting to get expensive for us. Which, when I see the affiliate sales numbers that I'm generating for them, they couldn't be any further from the truth. Like I said, it's probably, at this point since I started, I've been doing this, 8 years? I've probably brought in $250,000 for Woolwax. And they're going to go on their Facebook page and tell people I've cost them money. So whatever. I like the product. I don't really care for the people that run it based on what they said about me. At no point have they ever reached out to me and tried to make amends or apologize. So as far as I'm concerned, they can stay in their lane, I'll stay in mine, and bygones be bygones, water under the bridge, and move on. Defamation. It's funny you bring up defamation, Middle Way, because if you actually go back and look at the Facebook post, I think it was in like March of 2023, if you want to go back and look at it. Because at this point, I believe it's still on there. But the funny part is they wanted to sue me for defamation and the amount of money that I cost them, which I keep track. Like here you go. I keep receipts. So I guarantee you, like, when it comes to companies, I have a folder on my desktop that's just screenshots of what people have said, like, about me. Like, and if it's in a negative light, I hold on to that stuff, probably more than I should. But in the future, if they ever need something, I can go, oh, what's this about? And then, yeah, it'll probably either A, they'll make amends, or B, just shut down the conversation. So, yeah, that's a little bit of Woolwax drama. That's a little bit of Blaster drama. I've even thought about coming out with my own products, but the problem is, guys, I would have to go to the same suppliers as companies like Woolwax and Blaster to get stuff. So what I would have to do is I would have to go to a supplier, get a product, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, put my own label on it and say, hey, I have the greatest product in the world. Well, I'm not gonna lie to, a fan base or a subscriber base of 250,000 people. Because at the end of the day, like, if I go to Woolwax's supplier and get the exact same formula that Woolwax is using and put my sticker on it, I'm not gonna lie through my teeth and call my formula better than Woolwax's, because we're getting it from the same place. What you guys need to realize about this undercoating industry is there's far fewer suppliers than what there are manufacturers. So without giving too much away here, a lot of these companies are going to the same suppliers to get these products. So there's very, very few suppliers, and there's a bunch of distributors that are marketing themselves as manufacturers. That's really all I'm going to say about this. But yeah, the industry is much smaller than you think. That's as much as I can say. Use Woolwax, great stuff. Give me a second here. I'm just scrolling. I'm scrolling through and trying to look at some of the chat. New subscriber here, took a lot of notes from your previous undercoating videos. Just finished roofing rust scale, be spraying this coil this week. Yep, it'll work. I guarantee you it'll work. If you keep on top of it, it will stop. The thing is, with a rusty surface like that, just keep on it, because it'll kind of, the product being wet will just soak in, and when it soaks in, naturally it kind of looks dry. So just keep on top of it, keep spraying it, and it'll stop. Just be patient. Hey, thanks for the $2. I appreciate it. I wouldn't be doing this, like, if it wasn't for you guys. I would be spraying my vehicles with this stuff, but the fact that I am able to set up a camera in my shop and record different things that I'm doing out here, and it's benefiting tens of thousands of people, is very, very humbling. Because think about it, otherwise, yeah, I could preserve my own vehicles, but think about the impact that, some of this content's had. The number of people that are going out and spraying the bottom of their vehicles now is crazy. And the crazy part for me is, when I first started doing this, people were giving me a lot of pushback, talking about, they were telling me, oh, it's going to ruin this and it's going to ruin that and it's not going to work. I had one guy this morning, you know, he commented on one of my videos and he goes, that stuff's shit. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not going to hold up. And the nice thing is for me at this point is there's a playlist on this channel from when I bought a vehicle brand new and sprayed it every year. So I'm like, okay, I'm full of crap. Here's 8 videos that shows you may be mistaken. So that for me is kind of satisfying when I can go through and I can do it this many years, and then when I get some pushback from somebody, I can just go, here's a decade worth of videos that shows that this works. That's about all the evidence that I could possibly provide. Is Surface Shield decent enough for DIY? Yeah, I don't see why not. I would have no apprehensions spraying it DIY. The formula in the aerosol cans is the exact same formula that's in the 5-gallon bucket. The only difference between the aerosol and the bulk is the propellant. So when you spray out that aerosol can, the propane propellant kind of bubbles out, and you'll see it, like it sort of bubbles out on the surface. That's just the propellant coming out of the product. You won't have that with the bulk, but the performance is going to be the same. Doesn't matter. So yeah, 100%, like for a DIY, it's fantastic. I like the stuff. I very seldom do I ever have to heat it, and it actually holds up. And that's the thing. Like, there's so many of these companies that what they'll do is they just try to make the product thicker to make it hold up better, which yeah, it works, but then it makes it harder to spray. It just makes it less user friendly. Surface Shield, and with what I just told you about Blaster, I still really, really like Surface Shield because it is the best combination of low viscosity, making it easier to spray, and it penetrates welds, pinch welds, and things like that, and yet it holds up. So it gives you like the best of both worlds. Prices have hiked up basically a lot for the undercoating products. Where can I get 1-gallon, 5-gallon pails cheaper? Shop around, man. Especially like if you're in Canada or something, I have no clue what the prices are up there. And people ask me that kind of stuff all the time. And it's like, well, I know it's available to me, but somebody like I get people in Europe that comment, and I'm like, I don't know, because what you guys have available over there is completely different than what I have available here. I know there's some products up there like Honey Goo and things like that. Like I've played with them a little bit, but I don't have any real long-term experience with that stuff at all. Is there a good aerosol can nozzle extension for cavities that works with Surface Shield? Well, I know Blaster has something in development. As far as how well it's going to work, I couldn't tell you. Because when I had left, the jury was still out. Let's put it that way. When I made my exit in the end of January, I still had yet to spray a working prototype. I know that they're trying. How well it's going to work, I can't tell you, because I haven't used it, because it's not publicly available yet. So hopefully that helps. But yes, they're trying. They have some patents on it, and I don't know. Frankly, I don't know, because it's not out yet. Surface Shield's honestly stupid good. Apply it on my customers' cars. Easy getting 2 years out of a base coat. It's great. Yep, I agree. And the funny part for me is when I first shot that initial Surface Shield video, I had so many people telling me I was a corporate shill and I didn't know what I was talking about, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing as kind of, these lanolin undercoatings in general. When I first started doing this, people told me I was full of crap and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, which is fine. But now after the fact, like multiple years later, people are like, oh, wow, this stuff's great. And I'm like, I tried to tell you that 2 years ago, and a bunch of you guys just called me a corporate shill. can you please show the container of the product that I use? Sure. There you go. I've got Woolwax, Surface Shield, and a bucket of fluid film. So I've got, here, get that out of the way. Give me a second here. So there's a Woolwax bucket, fluid film bucket, a bucket of Surface Shield, and then, you know, here's the bucket of black that separates out if you let it sit for a long period of time. Let me see if I can get the lid off here with one hand. Yeah, so bear in mind, guys, Woolwax said that this stuff separates out when you put graphite powder in it. I don't know. It looks pretty dark to me, but hey, what do I know? I'm only married to a paint chemist. I guess I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. So yeah, that's the products. Spray guns over here. Same one I've been using ever since I started doing this. Is it bad to put Woolwax indoors? No, not really. I've never had an issue with it. The only thing I can tell you is you don't want to stop up the drains. So if the drains block up, yeah, that could be a problem. You'll fill the whole door full of water. But generally with Woolwax, as long as you're putting, like, you can spray it once and generally you're fine because there's no wash off in there. Any recommendation for the folks without lift access? Ramps. That's all I can tell you. I worked on the ground for a very, very long time, and that's why I bought a lift. So I can sympathize with you guys because I have done it quite a bit. But as far as spraying, like I've done stuff that I don't even need to lift. Like if it's a large, 3/4 1-ton truck, I can get right underneath it. It's not even a problem. So get a set of ramps, jacks and jack stands, and just fight through it and work in zones is the best thing I can tell you is, just do a section, spray it all down, and then just kind of shimmy over, crawl over to another section and spray it over there. Is it the graphite conductive? Yes, the graphite's conductive, but what you have to understand is the graphite is suspended in a non-conductive substance. So yeah, the carbon black that all of these companies use to create these black products, carbon black is also conductive. You don't hear them talking about that. But the reason that it works is the lanolin substance that the graphite is suspended in, the lanolin is not conductive. So yes, the more graphite that you dump into that mixture, the more conductive it becomes. But all you're trying to do is make the coating look black. You're not trying to make the coating conductive. And from what I saw and what I've done, it's like 3/4 of a cup to a gallon is usually about all you need. So I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, on paper, graphite is conductive, but when you put it in a non-conductive substance, it sort of negates it. Can I use a rust converter before applying fluid film? Yeah, you can. Should you? I don't think so. I'm going to answer a question with a question here. So if you use a rust converter before you put down fluid film, what are you trying to accomplish, right? You're just trying to make the rust stop, right? And keep it from progressing. Fluid film will do that on its own. So why are you putting a rust converter on it? I don't understand. Like, I get this question a lot, and I'm not trying to like pick on you or anything, but yes, the thing is rust converters are great for paint. If you're looking to paint something, yeah, 100% put the rust converter on it. You are not playing with paint here. This is a wet coating that does not dry. So if you want something to like look nice, you spray the black version right over top of the rust that's there and you're done. It's like when you get done, you get the same end result with like 10% of the work versus paint. So on a daily driven vehicle, like this is the only thing I will even consider doing, because the alternative is just too much work, too much aggravation, and then 5 years later, it's going to chip, it's going to crack, it's going to peel, and you're going to have to redo it anyway. So you might as well use the coating that is much easier to apply, much easier to maintain, and gives honestly just a good result, even though it's a little bit wet and dirty underneath the bottom of the car. Just my thoughts. Yeah, I hope that helps. I mean, like I said, I get bombarded, right? Like I get so many questions from so many different people, and it's a lot of like repeat stuff. And I think part of the thing is with that is I shot a video on rust converters, and the issue is people started like connecting dots that, oh, he's talking about rust converters. That must mean I need to put rust converter down before I spray lanolin undercoating. And it's like, well, no, I shot a rust converter video because I was looking to paint the bottom of one of my cars and I wanted to see what rust converter worked the best. So people naturally just started, because they know me for this, they looked at the rust converter video and just started connecting dots. And I'm like, that's not what I originally intended, but I see where your head's at. So yeah, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight as to, like, I know it's to the point now with undercoating stuff that I know too much. Like I know who is supplying who, I know what they're buying from who, and I know I have too much inside baseball. So this is why like talking about products and stuff is very, very hard for me to do anymore, because like I know who certain people buy their products from. And to me, it's very, very hard for me not to out that information and just send people right to the supplier. How good is Surface Shield over rust? I've never had an issue. To me, it's been just as good as Woolwax or fluid film has. Either way, it's going to work. Surface Shield thinner than fluid film Woolwax. Can you thin out the Surface Shield when the temperature is cold? Yeah, you can. I mean, you could thin out Surface Shield. I don't know why you would. I generally, what I'll do is I will heat up the product rather than thin it with something, because all you really need to get it to do is you just need to get it to go through the spray gun, right? Because once it's on the vehicle, who cares what the thickness is? At a certain point, as long as the product is on the vehicle, it's going to work. So what I do is I'll get like a 5-gallon bucket of water and just drop my containers in that 5-gallon bucket of hot water and let them sit in there for 15 minutes. And usually at that point, it's so thinned out that it's perfectly fine. The other thing you can use, I don't know about Surface Shield. I've never tried it with Surface Shield, but I know you can use vegetable oil. Vegetable oil does work. I've seen people use that before. I saw another question there. People asking about Cosmoline. So I tested Cosmoline. It's been, it'll be 6 years ago in the spring I tested Cosmoline. It's been a long time. That was 2019. So the thing is with Cosmoline is very unforgiving. So Cosmoline dries. And the problem with that is if you don't get all of the moisture off the surface before you spray that surface with Cosmoline, it's the same thing as what happens with paint. So if you try to spray Cosmoline over top of rust, I haven't seen it personally because I've had so much success with these coatings that I put on my vehicles. But People have told me that if you spray Cosmoline over a vehicle with existing rust, the rust will continue to grow underneath the Cosmoline. It's the exact same thing as what happens with paint. The Cosmoline will not wick out that moisture like these lanolin products will. What's wrong with going directly to the supplier? Well, here's the problem with that. So from my perspective, right, you have to put yourself in my shoes for a second. So whenever I recommend anything to the internet, 10,000 people have to be able to get their hands on it tomorrow, right? Well, the issue is these suppliers are not equipped to deal with 10,000 individuals. What they do is they sell, like 250-gallon totes, and then companies will then divvy up that 250-gallon tote into smaller containers. So when you call one of these suppliers, they're going to ship you a 250-gallon tote. They're not going to ship you, a 12-ounce aerosol can. The volumes, they just deal in massive, massive volumes. So a lot of these companies, they're simply just distributors for other people's products. I talked about that a little bit earlier on in the chat where, I thought about coming out with my own stuff. The issue is with that, there's only like 3 or 4 different suppliers for all of these different companies. There may be some companies that make their own stuff, but the fact of the matter is any product that I would come out with, I would have to go to the same suppliers as everybody else and then come out on YouTube and say, hey, my stuff's the best stuff out in the world, when in reality, we all get our stuff from the same place. So this is why I don't sell spray guns. Spray guns are a perfect example. So this spray gun is made by a company called PMT out of Italy. And I could go to PMT and have them make a Repair Geek branded spray gun. They have a private label spray gun. If you look, that says Kelsport Products. So this is where Woolwax is getting their spray guns from. They're going to PMT and they're selling this stuff, which is fine. But the issue is, if I want to come out with my own spray gun, I've got to go to the same supplier as Woolwax and tell you guys, oh, mine's so much better. When in reality, it's the exact same thing. So that is why you will probably never, ever, ever see me come out with my own undercoating line. It's just, the market is too saturated. It's a little too cutthroat for me because there's so many different companies and the market is, believe it or not, it's fairly small. Because think about it, once you're further south than about Tennessee, the market for this kind of thing is pretty darn limited. Let's go through the chat here, see if I missed anything. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. One guy says, appreciate your honesty. And that's kind of the unfortunate thing with the internet is people get a platform like this and they look to monetize it in any way they can. I've thought about taking on some sponsors here and there a little bit, but I just don't want it to dilute what I'm doing here, if that makes sense. So like perfect example is, so I showed this a little bit earlier. I'm getting ready to test like a boatload of brake pads again. Flip this around. So I got a crap load of brake pads that I'm going to test this week, hopefully when it isn't snowing. And I thought about taking, if I was to take a sponsor, I can't take a sponsor that would sell brake pads, right? Because then it would just take my whole brake pad test and just make it completely skewed. So I have to make sure like any sponsor that I would take, it's got to be like something like completely different than what I do, if that makes sense. It's got to be completely its own thing, completely isolated to not dilute what I have going on here. For what it's worth, South is using salt in the winter now. South Carolina, Tennessee dump it on pretty heavy. Well, I will say this. My sister actually lives near Knoxville, Tennessee. And if they get like 2 inches of snow, that city like shuts down. Like they have one snowplow for that whole city. So it's kind of funny because they call it, it's they act like the world's coming to an end if there's an inch of snow on the ground, which I understand, but at the same time, it's kind of funny just because if we get a foot around here, it's like, okay, yeah, we got some snow, but if they get an inch down there, they lose their freaking minds. It's crazy. You should get Zelensky Auto Parts to sponsor the brake pad video. Yeah, I'm probably I'm gonna go on Amazon and see if I can get a Callahan brake parts T-shirt to wear in that video. Um, there, I've shot some on the brake pad video. I haven't done any performance testing on car yet, but I'm already starting to see like it's very, very hard to justify buying parts store brake pads when you start comparing them to aftermarket. Um, you'll see when the video comes out, but the prices that I paid for some of those pads is it's stupid. It's crazy. The most expensive set came from O'Reilly. They were $90. And which first, a good set of brake pads, I have no issue paying $90 for a set of brake pads. Where I have an issue is the supplier for those brake pads for O'Reilly's, those $90 pads, you can buy them directly from the manufacturer in the manufacturer's branded packaging for less than 30. So this is where like I haven't performance tested anything yet, but this is just like my initial impressions and my initial opinion and looking at some of this stuff, and I'm just kind of like, what you're really paying for with some of these parts store brake pads, it's a convenience. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'll put them on the car, this coming week after the snowstorm blows through. I'll put them on the car. Maybe there's one here that's fantastic, and maybe I'll eat a bunch of crow for saying this. But I see, just based on the prices, I see no reason to go out and pay the premium price for a parts store brake pad, because the parts stores do not manufacture anything. They're going to a supplier to get this stuff, just like these undercoating products. They're going to a supplier. So if you figure out who their supplier is and get it right from the supplier, you cut out a ton of markup. So, and people want to go, oh, well, the parts store brake pads have a lifetime warranty. Okay, well, the parts store brake pads are $90. You can buy them from the manufacturer of the parts store brake pad. You can buy them directly from the manufacturer for 30. So what, you're going to replace that brake pad 3 times before you ever even break even? And I don't know about you guys, but I'll wear a car out before I put 3 sets of brake pads on it. It just doesn't happen. I get between 50 and 70,000 miles out of one set of pads. So times that by 3, and it's like, well, yeah, you're 200,000 miles. And at that point, the car's so wore out that it needs everything at that point. Did I get some Brembo pads? No, the second round is going to be, it's all parts store stuff, because when you go to Advance, Napa, O'Reilly, AutoZone, each one of those stores has like 3 different tiers of pad, right? And at a certain point, I can only do probably 12 brake jobs, 13 brake jobs. And then at that point, the data just gets so overwhelming and so hard to sift through that it's just too much. And I've done videos where I've tested, I think it's actually one of the undercoating videos that I did. It was back in 2020. So if you go watch it, all the barbers are closed down and my hair is super long. But I think in that video in 2020, when the second round of undercoating testing that I did out on the telephone pole, I tested something like 25 products. And the issue is with that, the audience retention isn't that good. You can't possibly talk about 25 different things in a half hour. So you're going to spend 30 seconds talking about each one of those products. And what happens is you get a lot of repeat questions because you didn't dive deep enough into the numbers and a lot of the data. So what happens is at a certain point, like when you just start taking a test and you have, 15 or 20 different products that you're looking at, there's just so much information to sift through that the audience doesn't want to deal with going through that much information. The video just gets so bloated at that point. Not everyone has a hoist. Yep, I understand that, Paul. And the fact of the matter is, I put this hoist in as my first ever video. So this was not given to me. I went out and I worked overtime and I put this in myself. So I understand not everybody has a hoist, but if you want a hoist bad enough, you'll work hard enough to go get one. You know why? Because I did it. And if that offends you, sorry. Been pretty happy with the Power Stop Z17 pads from Rock Auto. Yep. That, like I said, I've got them on in the first brake video I did. I've got them on 3 different vehicles. My wife has them on her Escape. My Honda Fit has them on it, and then I have them on my Mustang as a street pad. So for a daily driver, they're good pads. I have, since the first brake video came out, I did a brake job and I put on some Bosch Blues. I bought a full 4-wheel set of Bosch Blues, and the jury's still out. I don't know how well they're going to hold up, but initially, all the initial testing that I did in the video, they hold up well. So I was willing to try them. So we'll see. My truck needs brakes, believe it or not. My truck it's every time I get in it, I only drive my truck probably like once a week. And it's like, I drive it just often enough that every time I get it and I go, oh yeah, I got to put brakes on this thing. Cause you just hit the pedal and it's pretty spongy. And I mean, it stops, it doesn't squeal or anything, but it's just, you look at the rotors and the rotors are starting to get, galled up and chewed up and stuff like that. And it's like, it probably needs brakes. It's not making any noise. It's not down to the backing plates or anything, but it's due. So I don't know if I'll shoot that video just because I've shot so much content on brakes that there's more coming. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the people that follow me for like my truck. The bigger this channel gets, is one of the big things that I found out about YouTube's algorithm is when I upload a video, one of the big contributing factors is what percentage of your subscribers like click on that video and watch it. And what happens is when you're a very small channel, you can shoot very, very specific content. And that was probably one of the ways that I was able to grow this, was I shot decent videos on very, very specific cars. So I sort of like carved out a niche, and I would have good like search engine optimization and good search results on YouTube for very specific jobs. But the larger that this channel gets, my truck is going to be like the perfect example. So ordinarily, like if my channel was smaller, 100%, I would shoot a brake job video on my truck because I know I would get views on it. But the bigger that this channel has gotten, the number of people that are interested in a brake job on a 2017 Chevy Colorado, it's such a minor, small percentage that it gets harder and harder to justify shooting content like that the larger this channel gets, because what I've realized is YouTube is becoming more of an entertainment platform than what it is a how-to platform, I think, for a lot of people. So if your videos aren't entertaining, they're not going to get as many results, and it's pretty hard to make a brake job video on a 2017 Colorado that entertaining. So we'll see. I mean, the thing is, when I go into the analytics and I really look around at what you guys watch consistently, it's the how-to stuff. It's not the product tests. The how-to stuff gets the most repeat views, and that's what's hard for me, is because a lot of people know me for the product testing. So when I upload a video, if I know that if I shoot a product test, the product test will do really, really well, but it won't get the repeat views in the future like a how-to video will. So it's kind of a balancing act, and that's why I'm doing both. Jim T, thank you very much. $1.99, appreciate it, buddy. Opinion on coated rotors. Does it change the longevity in any meaningful way? What's my experience? So I have some initial experience with some coated rotors, and in this environment, they last 3 years. And what I mean when I say they last 3 years, I mean the coating lasts about 3 years. I put some, like my parents have a Taurus, and probably 3 or 4 years ago, I put brakes on their Taurus, and I put nice coated rotors and again Raybestos Element 3 pads again. But anyway, the hubs on the coated rotors, you'll get maybe about 3 years out of them before they're all rust covered like an uncoated set. So I don't know. I've got to sit down and think about the testing I want to do with rotors. You guys seem pretty curious about rotors. I'm not sure how I'm actually going to test them. I got to really sit down and think about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to test it, because otherwise, here, I got one right here. The only other option is what, measure the rotor, measure the thickness of it on one application, and maybe like some differences in the vanes and things like that, differences in construction. So I got to really sit down and think about how to test rotors a little bit. So we'll see. More to come on that. Just give it time. Let's see. See if there's anything here I missed. I'm not used to talking this much, guys. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm a pretty quiet person, because the things that I do out here, nobody that I really associate with is interested in it. So even like as a kid, I was pretty quiet. And the reason I bring it up is, like I said, I'm starting to go hoarse because I've talked for an hour straight, which I'm not used to doing. But yeah, so we'll see what else we got here. Have I experimented with crown and lanolin? Have I experimented with crown and lanolin in tandem? No, I haven't needed to. All the testing that I've done on crown hasn't been all that great, to be honest. The videos are still on the channel. So to me, I would just use lanolin because it'll far outperform crown from all the testing that I've done. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's the other thing. I've had people send me emails that, oh, I've been using crown for 20 years and you're full of crap and you don't know what you're talking about. And they send me pictures of the bottom of their car, and it's like, well, great. I'm glad it worked for you. I don't know what you want me to say to that, but crown's just so thin. It just, in my testing, it just ran right off the metal. And believe it or not, bar and chain chainsaw worked better than crown on the scrap metal that I tested with. So take that for what it is. Rust protection for wheels. Oh, that's paint. That's what I'd use. I don't know. I haven't really experimented with it. I mean, I've got one vehicle that has a set of hubcaps on it with steel wheels. I guess I could paint those, but honestly, the information that I'm going to tell you isn't going to be any different than the POR 15 videos that I shot. It would be 2 years ago in January, where I took the Master Code, the Eastwood, all those rust encapsulating paints and compared to with one another. I think the product that you use is probably a bigger factor than the coating itself. Like, just because you're painting a wheel, that really doesn't change like what paint you should use, in my opinion. Frankly, I think it's the same, unless it's some sort of like really specialized application where it's like a track car or something like that, where you're getting the brakes like super hot. Normal street driven vehicle, you can use pretty much whatever paint you want. Like I said, I've got paint testing videos on the channel. Would I consider testing the Vice Grip Garage line of paint and coatings? Probably not. Again, so what you have to understand is my wife is a paint chemist. So my wife has literally developed paint at the automotive level. If you guys have ever seen, it would be the last generation Tacoma, the desert tan last generation Tacoma. My wife formulated that paint. So when you guys ask me about, oh, you should test this paint or that paint or whatever, I can, but the test methods that I'm going to use are the exact same test methods as what I used on that POR 15 Master Coat video, because I got those test methods from my wife, who is an OEM paint chemist. So if you guys really want to know, like, if you want to test that stuff, I gave you how to do all the testing. It's just a matter of you guys doing it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to Vice Grip Garage. Like, I'm not going to sit there and just tear somebody down like that if, you know, the product's crap. And if the product's great, awesome. But I don't think my opinion on the product shouldn't really influence his sales, if that makes sense. Again, I know it's just like the undercoating industry. I know a little bit too much about the paint industry from my wife that Vice Grip Garage doesn't make that paint. He's got a toll blender that is blending that paint for him. He's putting his label on it and calling it Vice Grip Garage paint. Like I said, I know too much. Let's see. Question: does Woolwax fluid film affect rubber or plastic? I've got some videos on that. It'll swell it up a little bit, the rubber parts. I haven't seen too much of an issue with plastic. I have a Facebook group that they're all a bunch of DIY undercoaters. So if you go on Facebook and you type in, I think it's called lanolin oil undercoating users. It's got like 10,000 members. There's a bunch of people in there. I remember seeing, I think, one post on a Mitsubishi where they had sprayed like the rockers, and this Mitsubishi had like rocker molding covers made of plastic, and the lanolin had like swelled it up and kind of made it wavy a little bit, but that's the most that I've ever seen. As far as rubber parts, it's not much. I think the wear that you're going to have over the span of 100,000 miles is going to be a bigger detriment than the lanolin is. It's just, from everything that I've seen, it's a non-issue. The only thing that I've had any sort of like degradation with is the weather stripping in the doors. And yeah, that's a $30 fix, I think, on my truck. I looked. The piece of weather strip at the bottom of the door is like $35 from GM if I really wanted to replace it, which it's a non-issue. Let's see. Michael Ball, thanks for the $2, buddy. I appreciate it. How's the test of Valvoline oil going, Restore and Protect? What specifically got me interested in that product? Honestly, that's pressure from you guys. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm very hesitant to start like dabbling in motor oil because I'm about as far removed from an expert at motor oil as what you could possibly get. I dump it in and see if it works and, maybe look at some oil analysis results. But as far as like making recommendations on a formulation and things like that, that's way over my head. So I leave that to Lake. The reason that I got started on Restore and Protect is there's a couple reasons for that. And just understand with what I'm about to say, I'm not throwing shade at anybody. But what you have to understand about that product is the marketing claims on that product say it will clean pistons. There is not one single person on YouTube or on the internet for that matter that I have seen. Maybe I'm mistaken. And if I'm wrong, put it in the chat, put it down in the comments, whatever. But there's not one person that has actually looked at a piston. All of the marketing claims related to that oil are the pistons. And I have before images saved where I tore an engine down 100%, pulled the pistons out, looked at them, put everything back together, and now I'm running the car with the oil in it. So that video will probably be out late summer, early fall next year. I'm 8,500 miles into that test, maybe 8,700, but I've got to do 4 oil changes at the manufacturer's interval in order to verify or disprove those claims. So it's 20,000 miles. I got to drive a car 20,000 miles and tear it down twice to make one video. So that's why, I'm never going to be the guy that's creating, tons and tons of content, because there's so much labor involved in some of the stuff that I do that it's not feasible for one person to do all this. As far as what got me interested in it, what got me doing it, like I said, it was pressure from you guys. I had quite a few comments of people wanting me to take a look at it. And that was the best way that I could see to do it. Get a car, tear it down, look at it, put it back together, put the oil in it, tear it back down when you're done, and see what it looks like. So that's coming, but it's probably a year away. Just be aware, it's probably a year out. I'm just going through the chat here. So, yes, he did. Lake showed the pistons at Valvoline's facility. Lake, I love Lake, but the test that Lake did was ran by Valvoline. So, yeah, you're right. He did show the pistons. But the pistons he got came from Valvoline, who's marketing the oil. So we'll see. I'm probably going to loop Lake in at some point. I haven't even ran this by him yet, just because if it's a favorable result or it's a negative result with this Restore and Protect test that I'm doing, I don't want you guys coming at Lake with pitchforks, because that's not fair to him. And my opinion shouldn't influence the amount of hate that he's getting, if that makes sense, right? Like, just because I have an opinion on something doesn't mean the internet needs to go tear somebody else down or go after somebody. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do here at all. Yeah, so it is a good oil. I haven't had any issues with the oil itself. So every oil change that I've done one full oil change with the Restore and Protect, and I send it out. Actually send it to Lake, and I let him do the oil analysis. And the analysis results that I got back were fantastic. Honestly, I have no issues at all with the oil. The question is, does it actually clean as much as they say it does? That's essentially the whole point of that video, is will it do what they say it'll do? I'm not going to sit there and dispute the fact that it's, not good oil. It's great oil, but does it clean? Yeah, Daniel, the thing is, like, I'm very, very hesitant to do some lives like this and kind of show my cards a little bit, because what I'm afraid is somebody else is going to beat me to the punch, frankly. The thing is, when you invest that much time, that much energy into something, and then somebody comes out with the same video 2 weeks before you do, it's huge. It's a huge blow. And if they beat you to the punch, what ends up happening is the comments go, well, yeah, so-and-so did this 2 weeks ago. Where have you been? And they don't realize that I've been working on this for like 18 months. So this is why, like, a lot of the stuff that I have planned, I don't really want to divulge too much, because if somebody beats me to it, then, I mean, it costs me that video, and all that time and energy just goes out the window. Yeah, I don't know. If you're the GTR engine builder, the thing is, if you're sending your engine out to be rebuilt or built by somebody, that's the furthest you can get from a manufacturer's recommendation. So at that point, yeah, whatever the builder tells you to do, that's probably what you should do, because that's why you're paying them to build the engine, is because they have more knowledge than you do. So you should probably listen to them. Just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Yeah, Daniel, I understand what you're saying. Where it shouldn't matter, but you have to understand, like, a lot of the people watch this channel aren't consistent viewers. I would say, I think it's like close to 90% of my monthly views are from non-subscribers. So when you're talking about situations like that, where somebody would like beat me to the punch or something, you're 100% right. Like, there's still value in that content, but I just know, like, I would get flack and blowback from people that aren't regular viewers that had no idea that, this kind of thing was going on. Jim T, thanks. Appreciate it. Do you ever clean off a previous undercoating, apply new, or you always just spray on top of the old? I've always just sprayed on top of the old. My vehicles are 100% daily driven on pavement. So the only people that I've ever seen have any sort of issue with having to wash the bottom of the vehicle are people that drive a lot of dirt roads. And the reason for that is, if you drive a lot of dirt roads, you're gonna have a lot of dirt like build up underneath the car. And what ends up happening is you get like big, like, basketball size hunks of dirt stuck to the bottom of this car. And usually what ends up happening at that point is, when you get that much dirt on the bottom of a car that's been coated, the dirt is so porous that it actually sucks the coating off of the metal and into the dirt. And then the metal starts to rust. So if you're daily driving on the street and you're never driving any dirt roads, I just spray right over top of the old stuff. I've never washed the bottom of this truck. I've owned this truck. This will be its 8th winter, going into its 9th, and it's never been washed on the bottom. It doesn't need it, because any dirt or salt sits on the coating, and therefore it's not going to rust, because the salt is sitting on the coating, not on the metal. So hopefully that answers your question. It's very, very dependent, and hopefully that makes sense. Last question from Jim T. Switching back to undercoating with Woolwax surface shield, should the customer wash the vehicle after being undercoated throughout the winter? No. This kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about with the dirt road thing just a second ago. The people that come to me that wash the bottom of their vehicles, the bottom of the vehicle is in worse shape than what it is had they not washed it. And I don't mean worse shape as far as rust. I mean worse shape as far as the amount of coating that is left on the metal. So the people that come to me and they just ignore the bottom of the vehicle, it looks much better than the people that consistently wash it, if that makes sense. Shem Pasta, $10. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. Akron's winters are rough. Yeah, they're. I've lived here my whole life, right? So I lived in northeastern Pennsylvania for about 18 months, and other than that, I've lived in Ohio my whole life. So I really don't know any different. So yeah, they're rough, but it's like anything else. I mean, you can be as optimist or as pessimist as you want about it. It just depends on what you want to do. Like if you get a boatload of snow, you go buy a snowmobile and rip around the snow at 80 miles an hour, and it's great. So it just depends on your perspective, I think, a little bit, and it helps when you don't really know any different. Kyle, I take a garden sprayer out in the winter and just spray the underside. Yeah, so the only thing that I really wash is like the wheel wells. I'll use some high pressure water on the wheel wells, but that's really about it. As far as the bottom of it, I've never washed it. I just hose wash all my stuff. I don't go through a car wash. If you do go through a car wash, just don't get the undercarriage wash. I understand it seems very, very counterintuitive. And I'm telling you, the people that get the undercarriage wash, their cars are worse off for it than what they are, as long as it's lanolin treated. The cars are worse off getting the undercarriage spray than what they are not. If you just ignore it, I understand it sounds very counterintuitive to everything you've been told for the past 80 years about automotive. If you don't wash it with lanolin on the surface, it turns out better. I promise you. It's just, I've seen quite a few. The other thing that I want to look at some point, and I don't know when this is going to be, is I've had people reach out to me about frame repairs, and there's a big sort of community on Facebook and different places where these professional undercoaters will do frame repairs. I'm not too keen on doing it, only because the lift that I have is a 2-post, right? Well, I have to lift the vehicle by the frame. So I'm going to lift the vehicle by the frame and then cut out a big chunk of the frame. So I'm not too keen on doing frame repairs and things like that, but it's something that has been on my mind and maybe requested a little bit because the modern vehicles, like the Chevy trucks, are just so bad. It's crazy. I can't believe that, Toyota's out there replacing frames for people, and GM is just giving them that same garbage wax coating that rots away in 5 years and is missing in 5 years. And the truck is ready for the scrap pile in 8 to 10 years. It's just crazy that Toyota would replace frames and GM is just giving you the middle finger and telling you, well, deal with it and buy another truck. It's just insane. Does the clear fluid film or Woolwax eventually turn black, or is it better to get the black version? It eventually turns black. I don't know. I don't think my Wi-Fi will reach out there. But if you go, so the Chevy Cruze that I sprayed, it would be the video last December on how to spray. I sprayed half of the trunk floor with black and the other half of the trunk floor with clear. Both halves of the trunk floor right now are black. The dirt and road grime will just get picked up and it'll collect in the coating and yeah, turn it black anyway. So hopefully that answers your question. Shemp pasta. So what's the point of black? That's an excellent question. I think it's just a marketing play. If I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, it's for somebody to spray the bottom of their vehicle and look at it and go, oh, wow, look, it looks black. There's no performance difference at all. It's simply a coloring pigment. That's the only difference between the two. So I don't see any difference, but it gives manufacturers something to talk about. And I guess it gives certain manufacturers things that they can go on their Facebook page and talk crap about me. Looking at you, Woolwax. All right, guys. Well, let me see. Let me get caught up on the chat here. And I think we're about done for this year. Small stone hitting the front can reduce damage. I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you talking like a windshield repair kit? I've shot a video on a windshield repair kit. I think it didn't do that well, but I had a chipped windshield. So when you have a chipped windshield and a YouTube channel, it's the natural progression that you're going to shoot a video on that. But all right, guys, I am out of here. I got to get this thing off the lift and I got to play musical cars. I got to get this thing down. I got to get the Cruze in here. I got to get the Fit in the air because if it actually snows, I want all the cars out of the, driveway so I don't have to plow snow around them. So take care, guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. Hopefully you guys got to see what's coming a little bit. But I know I end every video the same way, but I really do appreciate you guys following this channel because it's insane. My wildest expectation for this channel was 10,000 subscribers, and I'm over 250,000, which is just dumb. I'm going to keep shooting content as long as you guys are willing to watch it. So hopefully things keep going the way they're going because this whole thing has just been nuts. I'll tell you a quick story real quick before we close out here. So if you go back to my very, very first videos, like I said earlier in the chat, I was putting the lift together. And the reason that I did this, the reason I really started this YouTube channel was kind of, twofold. I had met some people on YouTube in the automotive space that had extremely large channels. And to be quite frank with you, they didn't have any qualifications to be able to talk what they're talking about. So I took a look at that and I said, well, if this person with no education on this subject matter can get 1 million people to follow them, there's no reason I can't do this. And that was in 2015. And I built the garage in late 2016, put the lift in the middle of 2017, and that was when the channel started. But the reason I bring this up, and listen, so my dad is my best friend. My parents are my best friends. So my dad was my best man at my wedding, to put it in perspective. So when I'm putting this lift together, you can see the video. It's on YouTube. It's way back in the channel, and I didn't I didn't even know how to edit the content I was shooting. I was so green at this. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. But anyway, so my dad comes over because we're getting ready to stand the 2 columns up. So I take the camera and I set it on the workbench where you guys are sitting right now. And I walk over and I turn the camera on. And my dad looks at me and my dad goes, "Andrew, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot a video on how to put this lift together." And my dad looks at me and he goes, "What are you wasting your time with that for?" And I didn't know how to respond, and I just kind of just said whatever in my head and just kept going. And here I am 8 years later, and there's 250,000 people following me, which I'm not saying this to brag, but the fact of the matter is, stick with your gut and do what you think is right, because even the people that have the best intentions for you don't necessarily realize your capabilities sometimes. And it's very, very funny sometimes for me to, get at my dad a little bit and jab at him and say, "Oh, I'm just out here wasting my time. I don't know. What are you so interested in my YouTube channel for? It's a big waste of time," just to give him a hard time. But he knows it's all in love. So I'll leave you guys with that, and I'll try and figure out how to close out this live. So you guys take care. Hopefully you got something out of this. I know as far as content is concerned, really not much to say, but as always, guys, if you guys like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, go down and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.